Hi, so welcome back to Real Auto Reports right here at a very snowy Real Auto Ranch. For this real video, the real review on the 2015 Toyota Yaris. This is the SE, making it the top of the line. We're going to jump in the driver's seat here and, well, we're going to tell you all the details we can think of in the next 10-15 minutes. So join me, Jonathan McGrew, and we'll have some fun in the snow. Hi, so welcome back for our real video on this 2015 Toyota Yaris. We are definitely out on the road, as you can see, and now we want to give you all the details we can think of on this car. So I was thinking about, what is it that I really want to say about this urban commuter car? I mean, we are driving here in the snow. It is a fairly inexpensive vehicle at just over $18,600 is tested with delivery. This is the top of the line, really only missing some features like the dealer installed navigation. Yes, you can get dealer installed navigation now. It also doesn't have satellite radio, which I find a little bit annoying just on a daily basis, but I'm sure that if you wanted it, you could have it added dealer or aftermarket. But competitors like the Nissan Versa-Note are going to have that already as part of their option group and be fairly competitive in the price point as well. The thing about this Yaris is that you get that Toyota brand association. It means that it's also going to be very reliable. It's going to hold its resale value really well. You're going to be able to benefit from not having a CVT, so it will shift and it won't hold the gear quite as long or as loud as a CVT, although it's still a pretty noisy car because it is a 1.5 liter four-cylinder with 106 horsepower and 103 foot-pounds of torque. But we're already up to 55 miles an hour thereabouts, and it wasn't really that long, as you can tell being on the video. You could probably count it up as I accelerated if you rewind back, and it's going to be in that upper end range, getting close to 9 or 10 seconds. But hey, you know, this is an urban commuter car. From a driving perspective, this vehicle has a nice sense of steering. You have good acceleration, in my estimation, even up and down the hills here in Colorado. You have a nice 4-speed transmission that allows you to downshift. It doesn't jerk you around too much, even when you come all the way down into low at an appropriate speed. So it means that it is shiftable, just not in a sequential shift the way that a Tiptronic or a Shiftronic would be in some of the other brands. So you can hold the gear too, and if I'm in second here, I can just keep accelerating, and that's right about 50, 55, and 60, and see, it's just holding the gear there. It's not forcing me to shift up into D or third gear or fourth gear. It is a vehicle that's going to get 30 miles per gallon in the city, 36 out on the highway, and about a 32 mile per gallon combined according to the EPA. It is good on its feet in the SE because you have 16-inch rims as an upgrade and 4-wheel discs as an upgrade. You're also going to have those fog lights added and the blackout grille and sports tuned suspension, the rear spoiler that is out there on the back. And you can see a lot of those features from our walk around in our real first impressions driving review of the and walk around review of this 2015 Yaris. From a redesign perspective, this is not going to be a complete and total redesign. They haven't changed all the sheet metal. They've changed the front fascia a little bit in the chassis. They've added some sound deadening. They've added a refresh of the interior with more soft touch here on the dashboard and in places like that, but nothing too radical from the previous generation. Just little bits to make it better, to make it a capable and competitive car in this economy car market. This is a vehicle that, as I said, is missing a few features that I'd like to see, like the navigation as a non-dealer installed option. And I'd also like to see this vehicle have the option of a keyless start if possible. You know, those kind of features would really elevate this economy car up to a nice little luxury city car, because just because you want to drive a small city car doesn't mean you necessarily want to lose all the cool features. It would also be nice to have a leather-like option with heated seats. These seats are very nice in this vehicle. They have a ribbed contour in the front 3/4 or front half of the seat, and then they also have contrast stitching and some nice bolstering that make them pretty comfortable. The driving position in this vehicle is, well, going to be more vertical, just like the Nissan Versanote that we recently tested for 2015 as well. And that gives you a more top-heavy sense of the vehicle when you're driving it. But all in all, still a pretty cool car in that it is predictable in its handling and not too noisy in its operation with that extra sound deadening that they've added. And you can see it's like a little go-kart really, but it does definitely have some engine noise, as you can see when you really get on it. Now, we have a real quick video on how it drives in the snow, but the quick preview there is that it's a lot better than you might think, so you want to check that out. Look for it here at Real Auto Reports when we post it. But from a detailed perspective, there we go. See, it slid around a little bit as it hit that groove and that rise in the road on this slick and snowy road, and it was really easy to correct, and the traction control and anti-skid control kicked in to help save the vehicle. But it's not a car that you're going to want to drive blindly, right? You're not going to want to just whip it around without being conscious of how it does drive and handle in those situations. Because it is lighter on its feet, it is a lighter vehicle, it's going to be more susceptible to sliding and hydroplaning and doing things like that in inclement or wet weather. So you want to keep an eye on that. But all in all, it's got some nice features on it, and it has a nice driving sense. The suspension, even though sports tuned, isn't rattling you all around. There's not too much you can say about these city cars. They do what they are supposed to. They're small, easy to park, and though you really can't see the nose very well, you get a good sense of how close you are to stuff after you've driven it a while. And that's what I noticed, is that it is an easy car to maneuver, but it does have another nit that I have to mention in this detailed review. Even though most manufacturers, including Nissan with the Versanote, and you'll find it on other vehicles like the Ford Fiesta, there is no rear backup camera in this upper end or top of the line really model for the Yaris, the SE. We have no rear backup camera, but we did in the Nissan Versanote, our SR that we recently looked at. And that's not even the top of the line. That's not even the SL. So I do think that there are some missing features in the Yaris. And it's somewhat strange to believe that Toyota wouldn't want you to have all those features and be totally in compliant with this 2018. Well, that's when they're going to enforce it, is in a couple of years. So I bet you're going to find in the next complete redesign, which we hear is probably likely going to be built side by side with the Mazda 2 and maybe even use some of that Skyactiv technology, you know, then you might see it in a complete and total redesign to see that rear backup camera, some of this other technology that I mentioned. But just to illustrate again how quick on this feet it is, we're going to jump out here onto this 2-lane road. Yep, and there we go, up to speed. So that's 50, that's 55, and that's 60 right there. So not too shabby for a vehicle that's under $19,000, is tested, has only 106 horsepower and 103 foot-pounds of torque, and is really like a little go-kart. You're going to notice that it's a little bit of roll in the suspension, but the SE does give you an anti-roll bar in that, as I mentioned, sports tuned suspension. So I think it's going to be a lot more fun to drive than you might actually expect for a relatively inexpensive city car and still gives you good room. One of the other things I noticed about this vehicle is that I could easily get 4 people in this vehicle and still take it to Costco. You know, if you've listened to my reviews, you hear that we go there quite often, and we do for the fresh fruits and vegetables and bulk and all sorts of stuff like that. And you can get several bags of Costco. Well, I use IKEA bags, so if that gives you any reference, you know, they're about like that. And you can get several of them in the back along with a 36-pack of soda. You can get Pellegrino flat in there, or a box. You can get a flat of water. The only thing that's going to be difficult to carry in this vehicle, or that makes it more difficult to carry stuff in the back in the hatch, is that removable privacy panel that prevents people from looking in the back window. And so that can kind of get in the way and be a little bit annoying at times. And the other thing is just the actual depth of the vehicle. So you might actually have to fold the seats down occasionally, but there's a lot of room in here if you do that. And they are a split bench in that they're about a 70-30 split, if you will, or not. They have, yeah, I think 70-30 would basically be the correct term, because the one side is very narrow and then the driver's side here is much wider and gives you more flat room. So you can actually have one passenger sitting on the right and have a bunch of flat cargo room on the left. So that split not being 50-50 is actually a benefit in a car like this Yaris, and you get used to it. Now, it does have some oddities that I just have to mention, like this pocket up here in the top of the Yaris. I'm not really sure what it's for. You wouldn't want to necessarily put your cell phone there, because if you made a hard right turn with the window down, you can see where that might go right out. And it's got some interesting insets here in the front of the dash. Also, the cup holders are a little close together to get 2 normal medium-sized drinks in the cup holder next to each other without kind of having that chatter that they have when they're at odds with each other. You do have a big cup holder behind the parking brake here, and your traction control button is going to be right here next to your parking brake as well. So everything's easy to find. There's just a few things that, well, you can tell that it may not necessarily be designed for US portions. Let's put it that way. However, I think Toyota is doing a fantastic job bringing these cars into a nicer design language with the soft touch that I've mentioned before. You have nice quality seats. They're comfy. I've driven this car for a couple hours at a time, and it is actually a lot better than I could have ever thought. And that's real kudos to Toyota, which means you should check it out. But remember what I always say, cross shop with the competition. Look at the Ford Fiesta, look at the Nissan Versa Note, look at the Nissan Versa. Even though it's a slightly bigger car, you can get those in a very inexpensive package. Of course, you won't have some of the features that I'm griping that this doesn't have, but so there it is. Look at the Kias and the Hyundais. Go check out the Honda Fits if you want to go towards that Japanese brand like this. Remember, a Honda Fit is going to feel a lot sportier than this Toyota Yaris, although I think the Yaris is really nipping at its heels from a design and experience perspective these days. These Toyotas are not as frumpy as they used to be. We'll have the real wrap-up coming up next. And if you have any questions, comments, or otherwise, make sure you drop us a line on our Facebook channel or right here in the comments section of our YouTube channel. So that's the real video, the real review on this 2015 Toyota Yaris SE. At the top of the model family, this vehicle as tested will set you right about $18,600 and some change, a little bit over that price. That is just the base price with the delivery feature added and the $180 floor mat option. It is a vehicle that is meant for in-town commuting, so it is a commuter car, and it is small, nimble, and well, fairly quick with the 1.5 liter 4-cylinder 106 horsepower engine. It's not going to be a rocket, but it's going to feel like a little bit of a go-kart with with the sports tuned suspension, the 16-inch wheels that come in the SE, and the neat look that give it, well, that kind of aggressive, sporty flair for the 2015 model year. Remember, this is a really aggressive refresh, but not a complete redesign. Only certain things have been touched in this car, like the refreshed interior with the additional soft touch. You have the, well, all disc brakes here on the SE. You have things like more sound deadening in the anti-roll bar in the SE as well. It's a vehicle that you're going to find competes well in the segment with vehicles like the Nissan Versa Note that we looked at just recently. It has good gas mileage, 30 miles per gallon in town. It's going to be about 32 miles per gallon combined, and in the upper 30s out on the freeway, making it very competitive in the market, as I said. If you want to cross-shop with the competition, that Nissan Versa Note, you'll want to check out that review here on our YouTube channel, as well as cross-shopping with the Ford Fiesta and even the Chevrolet Spark, which we've looked at previously here at Real Auto Reports as well. I'm Jonathan McGrew, and Toyota's done a nice job keeping this car relevant and competitive, so make sure you check it out, and we'll have more reviews for you down the road.